I'm Alan Spears with Occupy Democrats, and proving once again that he is simply done with this crap and is not holding back anymore or pulling any punches. President Biden, in the middle of a press conference, absolutely laid into Donald Trump and called him out on his lies. Now, as many of you are probably well aware at this point, Hurricane Helene has recently swept through the South and has caused untold amounts of devastation and unfortunately has caused numerous deaths, and as of this recording we are still not exactly sure of the total death count as it seems to continue to rise with each day. Now, the South isn't any stranger to hurricanes, especially within Florida, and while there are precautions and safety measures in place to help prevent or minimize damage within areas that are near the coast, suffice it to say that Helene rapidly developed into a much stronger storm than somewhat previously anticipated, and that has left many of the southern states reeling. As is customary and sort of expected when such an intense storm as Helene sweeps through, many of the southern states and their governors requested federal assistance, and this could be anything from temporary housing to food supplies to medical attention, you name it. Now, typically, at least during such crisis situations such as Hurricane Helene, the governors of these states typically have a pretty direct line to the president to both provide updates as well as request assistance. But where there is safety and precautionary measures and protocol, there is also Donald Trump, and that is what brings us into our breaking story and video today. It would seem that, unsurprisingly, and once again, Donald Trump went on a tirade of lies saying that the governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, was unable to get a hold of President Biden to request assistance for his state. And you don't need to take my word for it. Take a look and see for yourself what Trump had to say.
We do need some help from the federal government. They have to get together, ideally with the governor. That governor needs to, he's been trying to get them, and I'm sure they're going to come through. But he's been calling the president, hasn't been able to get him.
Now, while that could be some rather unfortunate news if it was true, it is coming from Donald Trump, so naturally you know it is a lie. And when President Biden was asked about his correspondence with Governor Brian Kemp and asked about what his thoughts were about Donald Trump calling him out or lacking communication with the governor of Georgia, he had an absolutely brutal takedown of a response and did not even let the reporter finish this nonsensical question. Take a look and see for yourself how President Biden is absolutely over and done with Donald Trump and is ready to no longer have to think or speak about this man ever again.
Mr. President and Governor Cooper, Donald Trump has accused both of you of ignoring the disaster.
He is lying. Let me get this straight. He's lying. And the governor told him he was lying. The governor told me he was lying. I've spoken to the governor, spent time with him, and he told me he's lying. I don't know why he does this. And the reason I get so angry about it, I don't care about what he says about me, but I care what he communicates to the people that are in need. He implies that we're not doing everything possible. We are. And you spoke to the governor. I assume you heard the Republican governor of Georgia talk about that he was on the phone with me more than once. So that's simply not true, and it's irresponsible.
You know, I absolutely love seeing President Biden just completely done with Donald Trump and just so over having to address the constant lying, the constant false accusation that Trump and his team constantly levy against President Biden. It is fantastic to see this rebuttal. And you certainly do not need to take my word for it or President Biden's word for it, as a matter of fact. Remember that video I showed you beforehand? Let's watch it in its entirety.
But he's been calling the president, hasn't been able to get him.
I just spoke, the president just called me yesterday afternoon. I missed him and called him right back. And he just said, hey, what do you need? And I told him, you know, we got what we need. We'll work through the federal process. He offered that if there's other things we need, just to call him directly, which I appreciate that.
And there you have it, straight from Governor Kemp's own mouth. The two have, in fact, been in contact, and President Biden was, of course, offering any assistance he could to Georgia, and proof, once again, as we so often see in so many instances, that Donald Trump is lying. You know, it really is in moments of natural disasters or tragedies like Hurricane Helene hitting where you really do learn to appreciate and respect people like President Biden who are on the ball, who are focused on trying to provide relief and assistance to those that have been harmed in such tragedies. Because let me assure you that the only way you're going to be able to get a hold of Donald Trump during a hurricane is if Mar-a-Lago gets flooded.